dots on the bottom.
There we go. Thank you. Whoever is 10% smarter than me, thank you. I appreciate it. Who sent that request? Again, thanks everybody joining us at our ECRDC City, County, Clerks, Administrators, Community, Economic Developers, Partners, and Dog Catchers Luncheon. As we get rolling, I think everybody saw the agenda invite, but maybe we'll just go around, do a quick round of introductions so everybody knows who everybody is. And rather than playing a game of standoff, I'll just call people out as I see them on my screen. Again, I'm Jordan Zeller with the East Central Regional Development Commission. And if you don't mind turning on your screen when we call on you, so we're all singing from the same hymnal, we can see each other's smiling faces. So I'm actually in the second position on my screen. Next to me is Mike Jackson.
Hey everybody, Mike Jackson. I'm the lead outreach and marketing specialist here with the Small Business Administration in Minnesota. Looking forward to this kind of call, and then at the end, I'll just have a little updates if that's okay, Jordan.
Sounds perfect. Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
On the other side of me is Kirsten.
Good afternoon, Kirsten Kennedy. I manage the Minnesota Center for Employee Ownership.
And next to her on my screen is Zach.
Hi, Zach Tabbitt, Vice President for Economic Opportunity at the Initiative Foundation.
And on my screen, just below him, is Matt, who looks like he's sitting on top of a skyscraper in beautiful downtown Minneapolis. It'll take a second. We'll just go to Laney then next.
I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, there he goes. There he goes.
I'm Matt. I'm one of the 2 metro area business development managers for DEED at the state of Minnesota.
Awesome. And next to him is Laney.
Hi, everyone. Lainey Hoskins with Mille Lacs County.
Awesome. And Jeffrey.
Only Jordan and my mom call me Jeffrey. But Jeff Borling, part of the economic development team at Great River Energy.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Amy is next to Jeff.
Amy Trombley. I serve as Vice President for Community at Initiative Foundation, aka right now the new Don Hickman. No Don, serving in some of his roles.
Awesome. Welcome, and welcome to East Central Minnesota. And next row is the one and only Bob.
Hey, everybody. It's Bob Voss. I'm the Executive Director here at the East Central Regional Development Commission. Welcome to our meeting this quarter, and look forward to some good conversation.
And next to Bob is Susie.
I'm Susie Brooks, and I'm with Veritas Academy in Chisago City.
And Susie's on our Economic Development Board at the ECRDC. Thanks for joining us. Next to her is the one and only Sandra.
And hello, I'm Sandy Voigt. I am the director of the Women's Business Alliance, based in Little Falls, but I'm actually sitting in the ECRDC office on purpose. Not because I thought it was an in-person meeting, but the ambiance here just got to me.
Oh, it's getting deep now, kids. Something like that. Thanks, Sandy. Tammy, how are things in Malacca? That's Tammy Pfaff. She is the city administrator in Malacca. Next row, right below Tammy, is the Polish Prince, Brad.
How are we doing? Brad Brzezinski, Northeast Regional Development Rep for DEED.
And next to Brad is the award-winning Nancy.
Nancy Hoffman with the Chisago County HRA EDA.
And next to Nancy is Andrew.
Hi, everyone. Andrew Tran, Minnesota Management and Budget.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. And Penny Sue?
Yes, and only my mother and my brother and my dad and my sister and Jordan call me Penny Sue. So it's Penny Simonson. And I'm trying to give you my video. And yeah, I'm the transportation planner for the East Central Regional Development Commission. I took the place of the Bob Bolenbeck that we were talking about before. So
thank you, Penny Sue Simonson.
Mm-hmm.
We're formal. She calls me Jordan Eugene Zeller. I call her Penny
Zeller,
Sue
yeah.
Yeah, we joke around. And we've got Kate on the line.
Hey everyone, I'm Kate Mertz. I'm also from Minnesota Management and Budget. I'm the director of a new team here focused on long range planning. So happy to be here today, and you'll hear more from me in a bit.
Awesome. And Kathy.
Hello, Kathy George, City Administrator in Sandstone.
Awesome. Thank you. And Matthew.
Good afternoon, Matthew, City Administrator in North Branch, Minnesota.
Awesome. Welcome to East Central Minnesota.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Awesome. And Evan.
Hi, everybody. Evan Vogel, City Administrator in Cambridge.
Awesome. That's what I've got on my screen, unless there's more people that I missed. Is there anybody I missed calling out to do intros?
Hey, Jordan, you missed a bunch.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I got, again, you have to be 10% smarter than the equipment you operate. All right. Let's see here. I'm trying to find everybody. We've got Michelle.
Hey, Jordan, it's Michelle with the City of Princeton City Administrator.
Awesome. And Jake.
Hey everyone, Jake Robinson. I'm the Vice President of Economic Development for Mille Lacs Corporate Ventures.
Well, thanks for joining us. And Leslie.
Hello, everyone. I'm Leslie Sauter. I'm Penn County's Economic Development Coordinator.
Cool beans. And Kevin.
I'm the City Administrator with the City of Bram.
Excellent. And I'm looking and seeing who I haven't called on yet. And we've got Lana.
Good afternoon, Lana Black with East Central Energy. I'm a business account specialist.
And Mark the Pheasant Hunter. Mark must have found a rooster. I'm just kidding. It's not his season. Mark Perry, we always talk about pheasant hunting. Mark is the city planner with the city of Hinckley. And we've got Nate on the line, the King of Bruton.
Yeah, Nate Sondrel, Community Development Director with the City of North Branch.
And Leah.
Hi, Leah Jackson, City Administrator, City of Hinckley.
And Shayla.
Hi, Shayla Drake, Workforce Strategy Consultant, indeed.
And I see Chisago City. Is that Mr. John?
It is Mr. John. I'm testing your 10% of your memory, Jordan. John Peckman, City Administrator, Chisago City.
Thanks, John. All right. Am I missing anybody else? Did I not call on? All right. Well, awesome. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We've got kind of a packed agenda. We're going to start off with Mr. Brad Brzezinski, our deed rep for our northern 3 of 5 counties. With deed, maybe a little update, what's shaking at deed, kind of what he sees potentially coming down the pike out of the legislature. Brad, thanks for joining us.
Well, I will preface that by saying I'm the last person you should ask about what's coming down the pike from the legislature, because I only focus on what they actually give us for tools rather than how it's made. Kind of the, hot dog analogy, you just kind of go with it. You don't want to see how it's made. So, but some of the things that were not a lot to discuss right now, some of the things that we're focused on from our end and looking to see them through, and Matt can bounce a few other ideas off if he has them, but it would be decoupling our Minnesota Forward Fund from the federal requirement for a match. We'll see how that goes. That's a kind of a larger fund to leverage for larger projects, but kind of decoupling it from that. Larger award amounts for some of our job skills partnership training grants that can be used, and also moving our BDPI dollars from general fund dollars to bonding dollars. So those are kind of some of the broader things that were being worked on right now. Matt, do you have anything to include on that?
Just process stuff. Trying to be a little bit more transparent on MIF and JCF awards and kind of how we're getting there. Which also means there's going to be less room for negotiation per se, as we're a little tight on some of those dollars right now, but trying to at least have good conversations with folks, including finance, about like, this is how we're getting to our incentives, and just really trying to get a little bit more, like dialed in on that, I think. And that's, like I said, that's super processy, but I think it impacts when businesses are talking to us, just knowing that like it's not magic. So we are showing a little more about the hot dog and the inside. Hopefully it doesn't gross people out too much.
This is Jordan. Can I ask a quick question? Brad, you mentioned BDPI. How's that sitting for funding? I know we've got a couple potential projects for industrial park, business parks. We're curious on that. How is that sitting? And then when does the pot in theory get replenished again if you're out?
That would be, you know, if we're out, I'll have to check on where we presently sit. You know, there's always projects that apply, get awarded, and then sit and may not move forward. That may throw the balance of dollars out for a while, but if they come back and are not utilized, then they come back into the fold. I can check on that here and get it to you from later on this meeting. So, but if we're out, then it all depends on how things are awarded with our new financial year. So hopefully it gets used because it's it gets reimbursed because it's a popular program.
Awesome. And then I was going to ask, how are you guys sitting on funding too for MIF and JCF? And then maybe if you or Matt can just kind of talk a little bit about the process. There's some new folks here. This is not something you snap your fingers and you've got dollars. This is at least several months worth of application and public hearings and all the stuff that goes with that.
Yeah, so I know last year while I was gone, we were running very low on job creation fund dollars. And Matt, have you heard on that? Are we still lower on that based on our pipeline of projects?
I think we're lower on MIF, honestly.
Okay. Okay.
Some of it remains to be seen what happens in the legislative session to see if those pots get rated too.
So MIF is a program, maybe just back up.
Yeah.
It flows through the city or the county or some local unit of government.
Correct. Yeah. And so Minnesota Investment Fund operates as a loan of sorts on the front end. We like to kind of talk about our funding as front end or back end in how they're utilized, whether or not they go on a spreadsheet for dollars allocated towards the project, or if they're just on the back end where they get reimbursed for it. But think of it as kind of a loan, a traditional loan towards equipment, can be utilized towards facilities and whatnot, but we tend to want to operate more towards the equipment side of things. It just makes things a lot easier. And it's based on the investment. It's based on the jobs being created and the wages associated with that. That's probably a good topic for if we want to dive into those programs, maybe a later meeting, see how we come out with the legislature based on processes and where our funding is at. Because you could really get into the weeds on some of that, and it would take up, for one, I don't want to put people to sleep talking about it right now because it gets kind of monotonous after a while. But also you can have, dedicate some time to it and have questions. We could have someone from finance up here as well to discuss it. So, but think of the Minnesota Investment Fund as a fund that operates as a loan on the front end, and then Job Creation Fund is more of a rebate style program for investments to your real property improvement that starts a year after you make the investments in real property, and in greater Minnesota create at least 5 new jobs, full-time jobs. So that's where that program is at. And again, like I said, if anyone wants to get further into it, happy to discuss it kind of off to the side or at a different time. It just would take up a lot of time here, but maybe that's a topic for the future.
Yeah, if you guys are willing to maybe chat at our summer one, that would be awesome. Do a little, 15-minute deeper dive or something like that.
Let's do that.
Sounds good.
Any questions for our folks at Deed, Brad or Matt? And I think everybody's got their contact info if something pops up. If you don't, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to play traffic cop on that. Yeah, hit up Matt.
Real quick, we split the East Central area, and if you're in Isanti or Chisago, I'm the person. And yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Last call for questions for those two gentlemen. Then thank you guys. We're going to turn it over to Nancy Hoffman. Nancy's kind of fronting, I guess, today for the East Central Development Partnership. They've got a big FAM event coming up. Nancy, you want to chat a little about that, please?
I guess this is our 8th year of having our Discover East Central Minnesota. We started working towards getting realtors, especially from the metro area, to know that East Central is here. We've got a lot of great shovel-ready sites, and we have a great workforce and good transportation. And even during COVID, we did these online. Our next one is Wednesday, April 16th, and it goes from 11:30 with lunch to start, and then it goes until 3:30. We have a presenter named Jill. I don't know why I can't find her last name here. Anyway, she's with Be Memorable, and she talks about where you're located and how you might get people to know that you're there. I'm mixing up my things here. We're really looking at our quality of life in our 5-county region and why businesses might be connected to that and why they might want to come here because of that. And she talks about that. We also have Lauren Bennett McGinty, who is with the Explore Minnesota. And I'm excited to hear from her too, because I know that Explore Minnesota is working closely with Deed now as well to do just that, using our tourism and all the great things about Minnesota to attract businesses. So she'll be talking about that. And then we have a panel, one from each of our 5 counties that will specifically talk about something in each of the 5 counties. I think it'll be a great time. After 3:30, we're going to be, well, we will this whole time be at the River Winery in Mora. And so afterwards, we'll have a nice networking time, maybe try a little wine and some hors d'oeuvres, and have a good time visiting with each other. So we really hope you'll come. We have a registration. I don't know if you have that, Jordan, or I could send it.
I emailed that out later earlier this week. I sent it out. I'll blast it out again here after the meeting.
Yeah, it's $35. You know, our focus really is everybody. I'm excited to see this as an economic developer, but real estate folks. So if you know people in real estate, they probably would really enjoy this, and they could get 1.5 credits, CE credits. For $35 with lunch and hors d'oeuvres, I think that's a good deal. So
Jeff
please
just put
share
the link
it.
in the box.
All right.
And again, the date for that one is
April 16th. That's a Wednesday. 11:30 is lunch. It goes till 3:30 and then follows by networking.
awesome. Any questions for Nancy and the GPS and the East Central Development Partnership
Yeah.
team? Formerly GPS, formerly Northern Technology Initiative.
Also known as AKA.
AKA. All right. Thanks, Nancy. And
Yeah,
again,
thank
that
you.
link for registration is there, and I blasted it out. You can probably see that in your email from earlier this week, and I'll be blasting that out again as well. And hit the forward button to folks you think might be interested in attending, if you wouldn't mind. Next on our agenda is Minnesota Management and Budget, long-range planning. So a little bit of the backstory. They reached out to Bob a couple weeks ago and had a nice chat with him. And then we visited yesterday, kind of talked a little bit about what kind of programs and what they've got cooking, and thought this would just be a great topic to have here at our quarterly city, county clerks, administrators, community economic developers, partners, and dog catchers luncheon. So with that, we're going to turn it over to Kate and Andrew to talk a little bit about what they've got cooking.
Great. Thanks, Jordan. I really am still getting used to the long name of this meeting. As I was naming these slides, I was like, can I just call it the partners meeting? It's great to be here. So I'm Kate. I'm the director of planning at Minnesota Management and Budget, or MMB. I am in charge of standing up a new team at MMB that's focused on interagency, long-range statewide planning. So it's really exciting work. It's also like really new work. I have a team of about 11 folks that have just been hired in the last couple of months. And so we're just starting in on the work. We had a great conversation with Bob, and I'm going to provide a little bit of an overview of our work today. I know we don't have too much time, so it's just going to be a couple of slides. I might go rather quickly. I'm really happy to connect with any of you separately. I'll provide my contact information, and Jordan can send out these slides too that have that in it. But if you're interested in having more conversation or learning a little bit more, please feel free to reach out. So I'm going to provide a quick overview of sort of our team and the work that we have in front of us. And then I'm also going to ask to engage you all in a little bit of discussion. Again, I know we don't have a ton of time, so if you all just want to participate in that discussion in the chat, that would be great. And we'll record it, or we'll take it all. Yeah. All right, so let me share my screen here. Great. All right, so a little bit about this team that we have at MMB focused on long range planning. So just a couple of words, about our positionality at MMB. So MMB obviously, is the state's employer and does a lot of, I would say, like sort of more administrative work for the state enterprise. But it also has a policy and planning division that houses a bunch of interagency work. So the Children's Cabinet is at MMB, the results team that helps sort of infuse data practices across different agencies. There's a health subcabinet. There's an Office of Addiction and Recovery that does interagency work. And so our team is one of about 5 that are positioned at MMB to help coordinate work at other agencies. The mission of our team is to improve quality of life of Minnesotans by coordinating, as I mentioned, that work across state agencies on critical long-term issues while ensuring taxpayer dollars are well spent. So we understand that long-range planning happens in different agencies and different parts all over the state, and certainly at different levels of government all over the state. But Minnesota for a long time has not had a centralized statewide long-range planning. There was, some people might remember, Bob does remember, a state planning agency that was created in the late 60s and existed for a while. It was most recently known as Minnesota Planning in the 90s, but then was wasn't so much abolished as dismantled in the early 2000s. So this is not quite like a reincarnation of that state agency, because we're, as I mentioned, just a small group of 11 folks at MMB. But sort of a reinvigoration of this muscle and a little bit reimagining sort of what this can look like. So what we're focused on is really 4 things. First, selecting issues to plan on. As I mentioned, we're only 11 folks, so we can't do comprehensive statewide long-range planning on everything. But what we can do is pick a couple of issues for targeted planning. And so right now, what we're working on is selecting those issues. That's what I'd love to get all of your thoughts on today, if you're willing to share. And then after that, we'll move to the actual planning work, coordinating the plan. So Andrew Tran, who's on this call, is a very talented planner. I've hired an amazing group of planners, but also sort of policy folks. The third thing on here is we're really focused on being a platform for action. So I said that I didn't want to take this job if all we were going to do was just write plans without actually like seeing them into implementation. And so in addition to sort of the planners on our team, we've hired some sort of implementation, policy, action folks to help think about how we feed plans into channels for implementation and how we provide support, not only just within the state enterprise, but also across different levels of government to sort of, see plans to fruition. And then finally, we're focused on sort of growing capacity for this work. And as I mentioned, sort of reinvigorating this muscle that's been sort of atrophied for a while. We imagine that the types of recommendations that could come out of these plans on any given issue could be budgetary in nature. They could be policy. They could be sort of administrative or practice. But also recommendations might be, this is very jargony, but like interjurisdictional technical assistance support to other, folks and levels of government around the state who are doing this work. That was a lot of what the old state planning agency did. And so, we'd like to do that. as well as sort of like communications or even sort of like PR type sort of campaigns. So as I mentioned, what we have right in front of us right now is thinking about what are the issues that we should plan on. And in order to do that, we're talking to people within state government and folks in different agencies. But we also are really trying to get outside of St. Paul and talk to folks from all over the state. So that's partly why we were in conversation with Bob and all the other RDCs to get their perspective on what some of these issues might be. But we're also coordinating with academics and community-based organizations. And so this is why I say, if you want to have a conversation with us and tell us what you think we should be focused on, we'd love to talk to you. So the aim here is really to come up with 3 to 5 issues for us to plan on sort of in the first iteration of our team through an inclusive process of talking to folks, of getting outside of our offices. We're focused on this being a sort of a rigorous and nonpartisan process. Yeah, I think that's all I'll say about this slide. As we're thinking about what issues to take on, and I'm going to ask you this question in a moment, so I think it's helpful to sort of put in the back of your mind, like what do we think might be sort of good issues for our team? And these are the categories of how we're thinking about that. So first, we're looking for things with long-term impact. Is this an issue that requires a vision for the next 5 to 50 plus years and could improve quality of life for Minnesotans and for generations of Minnesotans, really? We're also looking for issues where it seems like this is the right sort of opportunity for our team, this is the right moment, and then where there are willing partners and some ready partners so that we can plan on this and build capacity for implementation. That doesn't mean that all of these, any issue needs to be ready to go. If it was, people probably wouldn't be asking my team to help on it, right? There's going to be things that are stuck or, there's not agreement on solutions here, or parties are sort of, far apart on things. But I think, a little feeling like this is the right issue for the moment, I think is important to us as we get started. So that's sort of the overview. I would love to open it up to you all to share. Please share in the chat. And if anybody wants to come off mute and share verbally, you're welcome. I'm welcome. I'm happy to take 1 or 2 comments, but if you could share in the chat. So these sort of teal and purple stickies are some of the things that we've heard as we've talked to RDCs all over the state and asked them this question. What should we consider taking on for long-range planning? If you imagine a better future for Minnesota, for generations of Minnesotans, what are the issues where we really need to make more progress? So we've heard housing, we've heard childcare, we've particularly heard, rural childcare, but it's acute all over. We've heard broadband, some of these things. Would love for you to share in the chat, like either +1, one of these, right? This is, I think, you should work on this, or posit another issue that's on your mind. And if you could also share sort of why we should take on that issue. So what the issue is, why we should take it on, what the impact of that would be. And then we also welcome any ideas for other folks to talk to or to consult to understand that issue, and could be also yourself. So I will pause there, and please drop your ideas in the chat. This is really all going into like a database of information that we're using to really make decisions. So we're really listening here.
Questions, comments for Kate, ideas? Well, one thing you'll notice is we're all very shy.
Yeah.
Well, I hope people are typing, like feel free to be typing. Can we take Evan's comment?
Well, in true Minnesota fashion, nobody else would. So here I am. I would second two things that I see on this list as needs locally. That would be a focus on housing that considers a lot more than the broad brush approaches we're seeing in St. Paul right now. There's a pretty significant focus on preemption of local decision making and authorities around zoning and land use. I assume that's troubling for a lot of folks on the call. And they seem to focus on one thing. They seem to focus on the cost to the developer, not the price that people are paying. So there's a huge part of the equation that I think really matters to people and what they can afford at the end of the day, and trying to figure out how we might look at incentives around adding houses and how we can be enabling our local units of government to improve housing stock and what that could look like, as opposed to the kind of, it's been 8 to 10 years with the exact same proposals that get fought at the Capitol. It would be great to dig into that a little bit to see if there are alternatives that parties might be able to agree on better. And then the other would be childcare. I think we're just in a pure market failure here. There isn't enough childcare. Nobody's getting into childcare because it's not viable economically, which is shorting our workforce and affecting broad segments of the population. So those are really, really important and timely issues right now, as far as I see them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Evan. That's consistent with what we've heard from other people, but I think also has you brought up some unique points, which we captured in our notes. So I really appreciate it. Jordan, you tell me if we on time, how we're on time, if we want to take more comments or move on.
No, you got a couple more minutes. If there's any more questions, feel free. Thanks, Evan.
This is Nancy Hoffman. My mind went to housing and childcare too, looking at the list here and trying to be creative and think of other things. But on the childcare front, I know a lot of us communities are working on trying to find ways to increase childcare in our communities, and we've had a little bit of success in attracting some centers and growing the home-based childcare, but it just doesn't feel like enough, and it feels like it's temporary. You know, that eventually they're going to go too, and then we have to. It's an ongoing battle. In fact, one of my commissioners said he was happy we were talking childcare, but he said he wrote a thesis on this in college. That's Ben Monska, Jordan. And it was the same issue that we have today. And it's just so much deeper than that. Something else has to be done. And I'd love to see more focus on that, because I feel like we're chasing our tails a bit.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Nancy. And we've also heard that, and I think we all understand that, like, these things are very interrelated, right? Like, you need to have the housing, you need to have the workforce, you need to have the economic development, like that all, sort of these cycles that reinforce each other. So it is complicated, but yeah, I agree. We need to make more progress. Thank you.
Other questions for Kate?
Jordan, I would just, Kate, I would want to also mention, in the meetings that I've been to around the state and in the region too, aging infrastructure, I think, touches a lot of different areas. Not just industrial parks, but housing and just servicing the development that's already in place. A lot of these water and sewer mains and streets were put in years ago, and it's been difficult for our local units of government to keep up with the maintenance and repair and replacing those facilities. And I think there's always need, especially in our smaller communities, to do some kind of planning in that area, for the eventual repair and replacement of those facilities. So I'd like to put a plug in for that.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. I know we talked about that a little bit in our conversation too. I can't believe that I left off of one of these stickies. Water comes up a lot, everything for water infrastructure in particular, from stormwater to wastewater, but other types of infrastructure too.
We got time for one more comment or question or idea. Feel free to fire away. Going once. Going twice. All right. Thank you, Kate. Appreciate it. And your contact info, we've got it. Or if you're going to send something over, I'll blast out so everybody has it. But feel free to reach out to Kate directly on that one and start your own conversation. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Next on the agenda for today is the Minnesota CEO program. And Kirsten Kennedy, we'll turn it over to her.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. So excited to be here. And thank you for the presentation before. As someone who spent a little time in politics in East Central Minnesota, the aging infrastructure was a bane of our existence every year. So thank you for the work you're doing. Okay, I'm Kirsten Kennedy. I run the Minnesota Center for Employee Ownership. I'm going to go through my slide deck pretty quickly. This will be sent out to everyone. We are a nonprofit organization. We are part of a state center. We're 21 across the country that help companies, help organizations, help business owners and communities learn about, explore, and then get access to capital, social capital, and what they need to choose employee ownership. Oops. I'm not sure why it's not going, Jordan. There we go. There's 3 types of employee ownership. Employee stock ownership plan, ESOPs, seem to be the most popular. They are, however, most companies are not, small businesses are not ESOPable. Worker-owned cooperatives and employee ownership trusts in Minnesota fill in that gap. I'm just going to go quickly through the types, and once again, you can have questions and you will receive this. So the employee stock ownership plan is very attractive. It is a qualified retirement plan. That means that me going to work means I am putting money in my retirement plan. Unlike other retirement plans where there might be a match or I might have to put all the money in, this is really just giving the benefits to people that are coming to work. It is heavily regulated. However, there are great tax benefits. Once you are 30% employee owned, up to 100%, you will pay no federal or state taxes on your profitability. That's why it's really attractive. And as I said, it's restrictive. The annual EBITDA floor is around 1.25 million. Sometimes it can be lower, and 25 employees makes for a good, strong ESOP. I just wanted to share some ESOPs in Minnesota. Some you'll notice are from East Central Minnesota. They are all of all sizes. They're banks, they're manufacturers, and they are professional organizations. So it really hits all of our areas of business in Minnesota. Worker-owned cooperatives are the most reasonable to stand up. 4 people can stand up a worker-owned cooperative. It can be used as a startup model. It can also be used anywhere along the way for any size of business, tax-free surplus, and 100,000 profitability is what you really need for a successful transition. Here are some of our worker-owned cooperatives in Minnesota. Next, we have employee ownership trusts. This is one of my favorite forms. I feel as though it fits a lot of sizes of businesses. It's very new in Minnesota in the US. It's heavily used in the UK and in Australia and New Zealand. It is a perpetual trust. It's very flexible, but it is not not regulated, and it can be customized. 300,000 profitability, no tax benefits. We have one in Minnesota that is Code Weavers. In 2023, they transacted, and the owner he said, I have never been happier. Why now? Let's get to the important part. So we are living in Minnesota where we have close to a little over 52,000 owners that are ready to retire. Now, this report was done a few years ago in 21, so they're way over 55 now. And now we're just going to look at some statistics for each county in East Central Minnesota. So in Kanabec, you can see 117 business owners. That's 918 employees, 21 million in payroll, and 88 million in revenue. You can see in Pine County, it's 233 businesses, 2,000 employees, 56 million in payroll, and 170 million in revenue. On these other two slides, you can pull up Mille Lacs, 2,000 employees, 215 businesses. That's 55 million in payroll and 227 million in revenue. And then you look at Isanti County, 282 business owners that are now close to or over 60, 2,000 employees, 69 million in payroll, and 386 million in revenue. Finally, last but not least, Chisago County, 518 businesses that owners are getting ready to make a change, 6,000 employees, 228 million in payroll, and 1 billion in revenue. We are having something where we are training. This is 4 credits and it is free, and we will be offering it online. It's called Advisor's Edge, and it is bringing employee ownership to small business advisors. So anyone who touches it, if you have capacity to hop on, it will also be recorded. I'm willing to pass it out. And we also have an ambassador program that is just learn as you go. That's it. Any questions?
And yeah, we're happy to blast that out and get people information. How can we help you, Kirsten, on this, getting that info out to businesses that you think perhaps may not have a, I don't want to say a succession plan in place or some of those kind of things? Is that what you see as most responsive to this and most in need?
Yep. So we right now have a USDA Rural Business Development Grant that we're working under in East Central Minnesota. So if you want us to come present, we can also meet with business owners one-on-one if you have, and then we're planning on a couple of events for owners and then for small business advisors in East Central Minnesota in the next few months.
Any questions? Going once. Going twice. All right. Thank you very much, ma'am. We'll be email blasting that out probably Monday to everybody. Again, feel free to share that, forward it out to those who may be interested, and for their event coming up in early April. Awesome. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the Initiative Foundation. We've got Zach Tabbitt here with us. Going to chat a little bit, get an update about what's going on at the IF. Zach, fire away.
Thanks, Jordan. I'll share my screen here, planning to just give kind of an overview on our business services in particular, and then just hit on some other things, just in case people aren't fully aware of the Initiative Foundation. I am the Vice President for Economic Opportunity. We do a variety of work to support local communities and economies here. Just want to make sure you can see the regional lending and support slide, right? Perfect. All right. All right. So that's the area that I focus on primarily. I'll give you an overview of that with some updates and some specific examples, and then a brief overview of the other areas of work we're involved with, particularly one that Amy Trombley on the call is involved with. I won't throw her under the bus and make her talk, but just want to note some of that. So we serve the 14 counties of central Minnesota. The region's diverse in population, environment, and economy, with the east central area that you all are in and serving being a good portion of the area that we work in. And as you all know, each of these hometowns and communities has their own special needs and assets to work with. So we try to support early stage entrepreneurs all the way to large manufacturing companies, anything that kind of fits that small business administration definition of a small business, particularly locally owned right here in the region. So we are working on idea stage entrepreneurs who might need training and technical help, all the way up to that manufacturer or other larger employer that just needs a gap loan in partnership with a EDA or a bank or a variety of those sources. We like to see ourselves as a source for direct help, as well as referrals to other partners for training, coaching, lending, and other resources to help make our economy vibrant. Another key partnership I wanted to highlight is that we have partnered with the North Central Small Business Development Center, and we are offering a variety of trainings under the brand name of Rural Business Success. So if you check out ifound.org and click on our Business Services tab and scroll to the bottom, you'll see some details. We have a list of trainings for both nonprofits and small businesses, but specifically the small business trainings we have on April 3rd in North Branch and AI for small business, and in Pine City on April 10th. That same training will be available there. There's always new ones popping up, so please keep an eye on that website. Most of you are probably on our email lists, so keep an eye on those as well. I just wanted to highlight the Promise Act for two purposes. The map you see on the screen is actually all of our small business grant making since 2020. Normally, we don't make grants to small businesses, but since 2020, we've had a number of programs coming through state and federal carve-outs that are giving us the opportunity to do so. The last one that's active right now is called the Promise Program. Last year, we made about $1.18 million in grants to small businesses across the region, and we will be wrapping that program up with about the same amount of money this summer. So I'd encourage you to let people know, keep an eye out in the May-June timeline here when we open that up. I expect that to be our last opportunity for small business grants for the foreseeable future here. The other thing that I did want to let everyone know about is we have a Promise loan program that's kind of the lesser known aspect of the Promise program. Businesses that had less than $1 million in gross revenue in 2021 are eligible to receive a loan for as low as 3% interest with terms of up to 10 years for eligible projects. And those eligible projects are always going to be tied to remodeling, purchase, or improvement of a physical building. So it will not include things like equipment, working capital, and similar kind of other business needs. It's all about improving, if you could picture, you know, the mom and pop corner store style business that didn't make a large amount of revenue back in 2021 when this program was conceived. So reach out to us if you've got any businesses or you are a business owner that has a need for a remodel or building project like that. We'd love to deploy some of those low interest loans in this East Central region here. I did want to highlight a case study for those who aren't really familiar with our lending program. We often step into complex deals in partnership with organizations like East Central Regional Development Commission and others. This specific example happens to be from Benton County, but we do projects similar to this quite a bit. So this one was an owner of a small winery looking to move their winery about 20 miles. And the owner had land as an equity source, but the senior lender at the bank needed a gap covered in the equity portion of this deal in order to get it done. So they called up us. We partnered with the Benton County Economic Development Corporation, and we were able to approve a $500,000 gap loan in combination with a $1.33 million bank loan and $70,000 from Benton County, all in less than 60 days from introduction to closing. So we pride ourselves on being highly responsive when the projects work out where we can get them done. We'll get them done as quickly as possible, or let our partners know that we can't be involved as quickly as possible as well, so that people can find alternative ways to get the projects done. Another program that we're working on here is, as of May 1st, our next cohort of the Initiators Fellowship is opening up for recruitment. This is a really exciting social entrepreneurship program offering socially minded entrepreneurs 2 years of support, mentorship, and training, plus a $30,000 annual stipend to grow social enterprise. And what that means is a business or a nonprofit that has earned revenue. That's the enterprise portion of it. And the social aspect is they're trying to solve a local problem, help the environment, or do something specifically mission-oriented to do good in their communities. So that's a really high intensity program that helps launch small businesses and nonprofits with those social purposes. Again, that application opens on May 1st, so check out our website. You can always reach out to me or check out fellows.greaterminnesota.net for more information on that program. Finally, just wanted to quickly brush on the areas. This one is kind of Amy Trombley's wheelhouse, so you could reach out to her for more information. We do have a program officer working specifically to help with that childcare problem that was mentioned earlier on the call. They work as well with a workforce program offering generally grants and other supports to help boost workforce. And we have a nonprofit development program where we have a program officer who's running trainings similar to that AI for small business, but specific to nonprofit topics like grant writing, marketing, board development, things like that. And again, just like that AI training, you can find it on our website, and at the bottom of the business services or the nonprofit tab, there are a list of ongoing trainings for that. Then finally, just wanted to highlight that we are also a traditional community foundation. We host about 130 partner funds that act as vehicles that help generous people leave legacies of giving across the region. We see this as a core part of being a community foundation, and we want to help those who built wealth in this area keep their generosity local and growing for generations to come. A couple of quick examples of those: the Greater Pine Area Endowment, the Bram Area Education Fund are both part of the Initiative Foundation as endowed funds for your part of the region. So that's a real quick run through of all the things. I just want to thank Jordan and Bob and the team for inviting me and letting me talk for a few minutes. I'd be happy to answer any questions or just let you reach out if you have any questions or want to connect with our team.
Questions for Zach and the Initiative Foundation team? Amy? Going once. Going twice. All right. Thank you so much, Zach. Appreciate it. Next on our agenda, we were going to do a little update on our local foods. Michelle and Darcy aren't able to make it. Bob, is there anything you want to say a moment or two, if you wouldn't mind?
Well, just on that particular topic, with the recent executive orders, the USDA Food Business Center project has been paused for now, so we aren't really working on that because we got the funding pulled, at least for the time being. So we'll still work with the local businesses that are in the food value chain, because that's economic development too. So, but it'll the types of assistance might change a little bit, but we're still able to help with the small business assistance stuff. So just wanted to make that point. Other than that, that's kind of the main update, I think, from last time, Jordan. I don't think there's we're still doing some climate and energy work. I probably had an update on that last time. Nicole Klosner from our office is working with community groups and municipalities and counties on any kinds of environmental climate work to access the federal dollars that are available. So if you have a project in that arena, contact Nicole at our office.
Awesome. Thank you,
Yep,
Ross.
yep.
That is the heavy duty lifting part of our agenda. Before we go around, do a little roundtable, what's shaking in your communities? Maybe let's find a date. I know some folks may have to drop off here at 1 o'clock, but find a date for our next meeting. Again, thinking we're going to do this in person, thinking it's probably going to be at Library Park in Morrow, about a block and a half north of our office. I have not reached out to them, but I'm going to propose 2 dates and just see if anybody knows of any roadblocks for either of these days. I was going to say either Friday, June 13th or Friday, June 27th. Gonna grill brats in the park, hot dogs.
And the 13th is the Edom Conference. I don't know how many people go to that, but I do.
Everybody flip on your camera. Thumbs up, thumbs down on the 27th of June. That's 1 week before the 4th of July. So some folks may be getting an early start. We got 1 down, 2 down, I see. Most are up. Should we just roll with that? I mean, you're not going to please everybody all the time. Should we just figure Friday, June 27th? Then I will.
Jordan, the only thing I'll bring to your attention, obviously, if that's the date that works best, it's worthwhile. It's also the League of Minnesota Cities annual conference, so a lot of your city folks might be at that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that might be a difficult one.
Then let's take a look into early July. I mean, there's nothing saying it has to be in June. Let's take a look at early July. July 4th is definitely out. That Friday. How about the Friday afterwards, the 11th? Anybody got any known obstacles on that day?
Please don't look, yeah.
You got CMGATS that day, Mr. Voss?
Yeah, I mean, if you can take it, I'll take that one if you take this one.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. And last call, anybody got a strong objection of Friday 11th? All right, let's roll with that. I'll call up to City Hall on Monday, see if we can reserve the park, and I'll send out a calendar placeholder probably early next week. But figure it's Friday, July 11th, and it is most likely going to be in Mora over the noon hour. We'll grill some brats. I think we had chips and probably some ice cream treats or something, bottled water. Yeah. What am I missing on that, kids? All right, we'll aim for that. Then next on the agenda, maybe we'll go around to a quick round of introductions. Mike wanted to lead off on that one. Mike Jackson with the U.S. Small Business Administration.
Thanks, Jordan. Just one of the big things that we wanted to put out on March 7th, the SBA put out some new requirements on our loans. Basically that anybody who's applying for the loans has to be a U.S. citizen. No beneficial owners can be ineligible persons. These are individuals who are not here legally in the U.S. are a couple of different things. Your local lender will know more about that. Lenders must certify in the system, and there's also a 6-month look back. So if you apply for a loan within the last 6 months, they're going to look back. If you do have somebody who is a ineligible person, you do have the ability to have that person diversify from the business so you can keep the loan, or the loan's going to be null and void, and then they're going to pull the funds back. So there's some new requirements coming out from headquarters on the use and how things are being done with the loans. Our lenders are going to be working on those. Our team is very small now. We're down to 4 people for the state. We're taking on a lot of new extra duties and everything. So we're going to be focusing on what we can on outreach, but then also working with the lenders. Anybody have any questions on that right now for as far as the new loan requirement?
Who's still left, Mike? It's what, you and Brian?
It's Brian McDonald's the district director. I'm here. Maribel Mallet, or used to be Maribel Regstead. She previously got married, and Nat Lee. So I'm taking over a lot of the lender relations responsibilities. Nat's focusing on government contracting, and Maribel's going to be working on a lot of the training. And then we'll just be kind of splitting the outreach and everything else that we're doing. We appreciate the relationships that we have with the ECRDC, with SBDC, SCORE. So we're going to really be leaning heavily on them to really do that work with the small business owners. But we're here to push anything up that needs to either headquarters or the Office of Capital Access, some of those things. We are also getting ready here to start announcing more of our winners for National Small Business Week. As you saw, we just announced this week our nominee going up to headquarters, which is Beth Binky, previously Beth Feinbow of Busy Baby down out of Rochester. So she's competing now for the national level of the Small Business Week. So we'll see what happens there. But there'll be some other announcements and press releases coming out here in the coming weeks of the other winners.
Awesome.
Did you say that was all SBA loans, or is it a certain?
It's going to be all the loans. So
Any
this
guarantees, everything?
Yep, correct. So basically this gets interesting because it used to be that somebody could be, I think it was up to 81% that they could do as a foreign entity or something like that. That's all taken away. The new administration wants to focus on the businesses being 100% American owned. So there's, of course, some new things that we're learning here. We're getting different calls of being like, well, my spouse is is actually from American Samoa. She's a citizen of American Samoa. Okay, well, was she born in the American Samoa? No, then she's not eligible. She has to be born in the American Samoa because that is a territory. Just because she's a citizen there doesn't count. So it's those little things there that we are slowly starting to understand. But if somebody is here legally and on a green card and all those different things, they are eligible. So
If
any
you've
other
got
questions?
questions? Oh, as I say, you can reach out to Mike directly. Mike, you want to put your contact info in the chat box too?
Putting that in now.
Awesome. And yeah, if Mike doesn't have the answer, he'll find it for you. We know you're one step ahead of me, Mike. Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Kathy, what's shaking in the big town of Sandstone? You guys have been busy up there.
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting things going on in Sandstone. The main thing I always talk about, and you're probably tired of hearing about it, is the historic Sandstone School, which the housing conversion construction will start this summer. So we are super excited. It's going to be 32 units of workforce housing, and working with Megan Elliott of New History and Jill Pine and many other things she has. So we're very excited about that.
So, anything else you want to add, or?
No, I don't want to bore everybody. There's tons going on. Come to Sandstone. We have a fantastic Mexican restaurant, El Mexico. Fresh food, really good service. Yum, 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 yum. And then I'd be happy to give you a tour of our new library, show you the properties that we're redeveloping. We've got the Gaslight. That's pretty historic property that's out for proposals right now. So there's just a lot of exciting things going on in Sandstone.
Awesome. Thank you. Jeff, what's shaking in the world of GRE?
Well, if I can find my mute button. No, I think you probably all have heard a lot about our transmission projects. That's probably the biggest news we have out there right now. The Northern Reliability Project from roughly the St. Cloud, Benton County area up to the Itasca County area has been approved and is starting to really move forward in a meaningful way here. And then we've got 3 new transmission projects that we just started to walk through that permitting process, and that's the part of the MISO Tranche 2 projects if you're tracking this on a regional grid level. So that's probably the biggest news around GRE right now. Economic development wise, we're continuing to see a lot of interest in our internal gap financing programs and our co-ops, USDA affiliated revolving loan funds, but the ones that are operated autonomously of any new applications with USDA. We are working on another round of USDA Rural Economic Development Loan and Grant Program applications. The deadline for that is the 31st. So we are still operating good faith that those applications are being accepted, but we do have a couple of awards that are still on hold from the last quarter in 2024 where the funds haven't yet been released. Hopefully a lot of USDA people are going back to work, it sounds like. Hopefully that'll kind of thaw out some of these freeze ups we've been dealing with. But in the midst of all the turmoil at the federal level, we are seeing interest in our revolving loan funds and our E3 loan program. In certain co-op areas is available. And we're seeing an interest in that for business automation as well. So and then I'll just put a plug in. I'm on the EDAM, the Economic Development Association of Minnesota's Professional Development Committee, the EDAMU. And we've got a webinar coming up next week with Catalina from DEED. So She'll be talking about the Hickey Global study that Deed had commissioned. So that might be something worth checking out. Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you, sir. Lainey, what's shaking in Mille Lacs County?
Oh boy, we have quite a bit going on. So I am still working on getting my well, it's new, so I'll be putting together a economic development strategic plan for the county, which is very exciting. I look forward to that. Just kind of getting some stakeholders rounded up, and then I'll be sending out invitations for roundtables with those stakeholders to get some insight and help with that to develop that plan. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then we are planning a childcare training. We are working with Katie from the SBDC to provide some training for our providers. Last year at our appreciation event, we heard commonly that they know how to take care of kids, but not necessarily know how to run a business. So we're super excited to offer some training for them and then do a little bit of appreciation mixed in with it. So that's what's kind of happening on my end right now in economic development. And then, of course, always busy on the organizational development part stuff too, but I won't bore you guys with that.
Good. Thanks, Lainey. Kevin, what's shaking in your corner of the world? All right, he must have stepped away. Nancy, what's shaking in Chisago County?
All right. Well, I just got back from we had our housing study completed. It's actually an update. And so we had a kind of a stakeholder meeting with all our cities, a few developers, Lakes and Pines, Central Minnesota, just a big group of people to run through the housing study and then have discussion around what can we be doing as a HRA, what could the cities be doing in order to attract the type of housing that the study tells us we should be doing. And I just want to mention, we do have a housing trust fund, and we're going to be closing on a loan with, it's Shields Plaza located in North Branch, and they applied for tax credits. And it's a preservation project. It's, I think it was 52 units, but they were built in like 1976 and haven't been touched since. I mean, it's amazing. So we are going to be closing on that pretty soon, but I'm going to put a plug in here too, like Jeff, at the ECHO meeting, the East Central Housing Organization meeting. I think that's in 2 weeks. I'm just going to check here. Maybe, I'm back in June. April 1st. Juanita Paquet, she's the one that's doing this housing tax credit project at Shields Plaza. She's going to be presenting, and she actually teaches tax credits and stuff. So I think she's going to be really good. So any of you that are interested in housing, please join us. I like to see a little bit of a crowd there for her to present to. Other than that, we're seeing quite a bit of manufacturing expansions. And in fact, we're working with Jordan on a federal EDA grant for the city of Rush City. And we're just hoping everything still goes through and there's grant funds to be had.
Yeah. Thanks, Nancy. Evan, how are things in Cambridge?
Things in Cambridge are good. The city continues to work on a partnership with a local developer where we're anticipating selling about 84 acres of land for the building of 311 single-family homes. We're going to use the other 40 acres that's tied into that to try and build a park amenity that'll have a swimming beach. So there'll be some kind of fun things there. We're getting close to the end of the planning phase for our Highway 95 expansion project. That's coming up fast, and that's going to be bid later this fall. We continue to plug away on downtown restoration and revitalization. And as I put in the chat over there, we are looking to hire an economic development professional. We're looking to hire an economic development manager. we didn't love the group we got the first time around, and so we are reposting that. So if you know of somebody that's interested in this kind of work, send them our way. So thank you.
Thanks, Evan. Leah, what's happening in Hinckley? All right, she must have had to step away. Kevin, are you still there? You back?
I am.
Hey, there he is. What's shaking in Bram?
Well, we have a big infrastructure project going on. April 15th, I believe, the whole northwest corner of the city will be getting new street sewer water. I think we're about halfway through our wastewater treatment plant project, and then they're going to start working on revitalizing a well. We're looking at developing some green space into a park, hopefully try to make it a regional park type status. We've been reaching out to the county on that. Also working heavily to get our judicial ditches cleaned up so that the water levels kind of come down in the city, as well as trying to look at some of our vacant lots within the city and some of the, kind of the dilapidated old, properties that need to be, taken care of. So lots of stuff going on in Bram, probably could take an hour, 2 hours just to go through all the projects we got going.
Thank you. Sandy Voigt, what's shaking at the Women's Business Alliance and the Entrepreneur Fund?
Well, just so you know, the Women's Business Alliance is alive and well, and I'm happy to report that I can provide services to anyone. It doesn't have to be a woman, so just want to make sure that you're all aware of that. And from a lending perspective, from the Entrepreneur Fund, of course, I've taken over some responsibilities for some of the lending. So if you have any projects, certainly give me a call. And I'm in this area often and would love to meet with any of you regarding any projects you might have. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Sandy. Leah, any chance you're back? All right. Penny Sue Simon said, anything you want to chat about at the ECRDC Transportation Office?
Sure. The one thing I want to mention is that there are multiple corridor studies right now that are underway in our 5-county region. I'll name out the Highway 8 in Chisago County that's going on, but we've also had some recently in Hinckley along Highway 48 and in Mora with Highway 65 and 23. And what I want to say about that process, when MnDOT partners with communities and conducts the corridor studies, they look somewhat different, from one situation to the other. And MnDOT is kind of working it, internally to streamline their selection process and the level of work that they do with each of the communities. I think that's a good thing. I want to remind folks that that's an opportunity that all the communities have. It takes a look at a lot of things: traffic patterns, freight patterns, pedestrian and bicyclist patterns, and it's a service that doesn't cost the local governments anything. And so I think even if your road work, your planned road work that's coming up with MnDOT, if it's not currently scheduled to include a corridor study, it never hurts to ask MnDOT for a corridor study. And I think the sooner you can do that, the better. A lot of times it ends up spawning more planning efforts and oftentimes more MnDOT and other funding that will help with some of the heavy lifting of that local share that a lot of times is required for road and bridge projects. So I just, it's not something that gets advertised a lot, but if you've got something that's coming up and you have an interest, give me a call, or if you've got a contact with your MnDOT district folks, don't forget to ask them, because a lot of times they will they'll pursue and they'll engage the folks that have reached out to them before they select a project or a community because they think that it's needed. They want to see that local interest. So that's my plug today.
So thank you, Penny.
Sure.
Matt, anything to add from Deed?
Nothing we didn't cover at the beginning, I think.
Awesome. Awesome. Leah, one last try if you're there. Bradley, anything you want to cover from Deed? Are you in a fish house right now on a northern lake, or it's
No, I'm not.
pretty dicey around here?
No, I'm not. No, I really don't have anything right now. We'll have more at that next meeting. So, yep.
Did I miss any? Oh, Mr. Boss, I can't forget you. You signed the paychecks. You're on mute, Bob.
No, I think I covered what I needed to earlier, Jordan. Thanks. So, and thanks everybody for coming today.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
So we've got Friday, July 11th. I'll send out a placeholder early next week to put on your calendars. On behalf of the ECRDC, thank you for all you do. If there's anything we can do, don't hesitate to give me a call, give Bob a call, give Penny a call. If it's transportation, whatever it is, we're happy to help in any way we can. Have a great day. If anybody needs a note that says this meeting went till 5:30 for your bosses, just let me know. Otherwise, if I don't see you this afternoon, hey, I didn't see nothing. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.
So long. Yep.